What is up, everybody? We're here for the Fan Scripture Podcast, Episode 1, with my boy Proteus.
Hello.
Proteus, what do we got lined up for tonight, buddy?
Oh, well, we got a lot to talk about. We got some upcoming projects, Evil Dead 4, TMNT, all that good stuff on FS Plus. We got some
Woo!
ongoing stuff right now
Whoa.
in Marvel fan scripture in DC. Batman Vengeance,
Yeah.
hit of the fall season. That's some good stuff. Let's talk about that first. How do you feel about playing the titular character in that? I'm sure you enjoy that a lot.
It's good. It's the only character I've ever played that's good.
Oh, I think you're a little too hard on yourself over Stilt Man, you know.
No,
Maybe he
dude.
wasn't. I can't say he was the best character, but he was funny,
What?
and he did have a sad death, so it's not like he went out like a bitch or anything.
I mean, that's true, but all he was maple syrup jokes, and I am highly regretful about that performance.
We all have that one performance that's not as good as we want. It's fine. But yeah, you did pretty good as a Batman. I think that last session we did was pretty great. Killer Moth. Had to give you some of that moth action.
That was the best performance I've done as Batman in Vengeance, I would say, because all my sessions I've done have just been like talking as Bruce Wayne or as like Batman.
Yeah, now you're finally getting back into the action.
Yeah, I finally get to like talk like describe the action, which is my bread and butter. It's very fun. But that's really the extent of my fan scripture performances or acting recently. I mean, I don't really know what else. Like, I'm not really interested in doing anything else other than Batman because I don't know. It's just hard for me to get back into it. Like, if I were to do another role, it would be a small one. It wouldn't be another main character because even side character. I mean, it would be a side character, but not like a co-star. Like it would be.
I can respect that. I did that for a long time, mostly because I was just afraid to go for any main characters. In some ways, I still do that, except now occasionally I play some pretty wacky villains.
Yeah, like I would play something like Killer Moth if I were to go for another one.
You call him Killer Moth a side character? No. Moth is his own boss.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure he gets like bossed around by Bane. So wait, what are the ones that are coming up? Evil Dead 4?
In Marvel fan scripture wise, we got Foes Go to Hell. That's probably going to be concluding soon.
Go to
Very
hell.
good so far. Very. It's not as long as the other two Foes movies, but it wasn't trying to be. And I think it's going to be something really special.
I mean, it sounds good.
It really is good. I don't know how much of it you've seen. I presume you've seen at least some of it. That's kind of why we're here. But yeah, I mean, it's really great. It doesn't try to be as dramatic as Foes 2. It doesn't try to be as much of like in comedy necessarily as Foes 1. It's just kind of a good old-fashioned fun action adventure movie starring our good old boy Ash Williams and the Foes, plus some old returning faces like Venom, the Green Goblin, all that good stuff.
I mean, I remember pitching that. I think I originally helped like with the Venom idea. I think that's my basis like of knowledge. I don't really.
Oh yeah, not to mention, I do believe that Fantastic Four will also be concluding soon, which is good because I've been working on that for a while. Definitely been good passion project. I didn't even expect to get that far, but I'm really glad that we've managed to get this far, and I'm really proud of what we've made so far. Even if there have been some scheduling issues, that's bound to happen when you've got that many people that many main characters, I suppose. And I should also mention Spider-Girl's coming up, by Green Meanie winning director Chucky Cheeses. That's going to be good.
Cucky Jesus, love that guy.
Spyder and Cucky. It'll be good though. I have faith in the dude. Make Certified Kino Legion of Superheroes that finished up recently. That's some good stuff. No, Spider-Girl's gonna be good.
It might be one that I'm actually gonna like watch.
I'm sure you watch everything, but you mean more dedicated is what you mean.
I watch every fan scripture project. I'm no heathen.
Well, I mean you're not Brendan.
Yeah.
Although I think he secretly watches stuff and he just doesn't want to tell us. He's just very selective about what it is he cares about.
He just likes to be
and then not to mention FS Plus wise, we also got Enigma by Mr. Dane Hunt and Dracula. I think let's see who's doing that. I think Spyder is doing that. It's gonna be Kino. We're getting a lot of new stuff FS Plus wise, I believe. It's from everything that I've counted that I can recall of what we said. But yeah, all around, we still got stuff coming. Hope everyone's gonna love it. I'm sure everyone will love it. I guess particularly right now, what I guess I'm looking forward to the most is probably Spider-Girl, because that's like supposed to show the events of after SM4, I would presume. Apparently it's already been written, so they definitely planned this out way more than you would expect. Gotta applaud the executives for that well planned out structure.
They're like the Kevin Feige of the fan scripture.
The Kevin Feige of fan scripture. Oh no, does that mean another server is gonna pull our funding and we'll lose the rights to Spider-Man? Take 50% of the JJ laughs.
No, not the JJ laughs.
Leave us with only the rents.
And the JJ not laughs?
Yeah, the JJ not laughs.
Okay, so can you give me a rundown on like what's Enigma? Do you know what Enigma is?
Well, see, Enigma is about as mysterious as it sounds because Mr. Dane Hunt, or Rad, hasn't exactly given many details about it. All we know is that it's done in an art style that's familiar to what we know from all his drawings of like Phoebe and Innie and all that. And it looks to be somewhat of a, from what I can gather, the promotional materials seem to indicate that it's either going to be more of a fantasy type thing, could also be kind of a sci-fi adventure thing with a more happy atmosphere. It could go either way, really, because he hasn't really revealed many details about it, but I'm sure that means that when he does reveal it, it's going to really leave the surprise to be for a pretty good reward for anyone who tunes into it, and people really should tune into it. Speaking of, there are plenty of good things going on. Speaking of FS Plus things going on right now that you should definitely tune into, Starforger, looking at all y'all out there. Starforger is some certified indie Kino.
Spider Kino.
Check the discussion channel for yourself. Mr. Hack Snyder himself confirmed that in a out-of-character post from him. Surprised me. I guess he knows some Kino when he sees it. Look out for Martin Scorsese. I guess superhero cinema isn't real cinema.
Hey, wait, Proteus. I got something else. That I got like.
No, go ahead.
Well, it's actually not about fan scripture. It's just something that I saw you being mad about in the general chat that I got reminded of. Enigma reminded me about Edward Nygma, and apparently in the Batman, what I've heard is that his name isn't going to be Edward Nygma. Is this correct, Proteus?
Yes, it appears they're going to be giving him one of his aliases. And it kind of, I guess the logic there is that they don't want people to confuse it with Batman Forever, because they just used his nickname there. And I guess since this will probably be a much more realistic take on the character, whereas every other version of him, other than like the animated stuff, has been really goofy and silly and over the top, they want to try and differentiate him. So they're giving him the name Edward Nashton. It's an odd choice. An odd choice for me. Overall, I have very conflicting thoughts on the solo Batman movie, but it looks to at least be a fairly unique take on the character.
So is Nygma not as real like in the comics? I thought Edward Nygma was.
No, I think it could be an indication that they're not going to make him entirely like the comics, but to me, what it seems like is that they're going to try and give him more of a personality like, say, the Arkham games, where rather than this silly guy who just gives a bunch of riddles that anyone could solve and then do some crazy stuff, which would be the Joker's line of reasoning. He's gonna like play with his mind, make some cool death traps, hopefully not like the Arkham Knight. Batmobile levels, because otherwise that'll just be a rather boring and frustrating experience for everyone. What's your thoughts on that? What do you think?
Like on the name change?
Yeah, I mean, technically it is an alias of his, so once I figured that out, I wasn't as weirded out by it, but it does feel kind of like an unnecessary change.
So wait, Nashton is an alias of his?
Yes, Edward Nashton is an alias that he's used before, but it's not his real name. His real name has always been Edward Nigma.
So, do you think they're gonna like have him come up with Edward Nigma as like a thing in the movie?
Maybe he will.
Like, a superhero movie, they come up with their name, but in this case, you could like, maybe his real name is Edward Nashton, but then he has like an anonymous online name or anonymous like name on notes or something that's like Edward Nigma, and like he uses it as an alias. So it's kind of like a reverse of the comics, maybe?
It could work. That would be an interesting way to see it. Maybe that'll be what happens. Maybe it won't be.
Because like Nashton is a more believable name, so that could be his real name, and then Nigma is just something he's like, wants to be anonymous. But I mean, if it's just his real name and he just goes by Nashton, I don't think it was really necessary. Cause Edward Nigma, it's a stupid name, but it's just Riddler. You can't change it, man.
Anyway, let's discuss some more recent Cape Kino. Have you seen Joker? Here it's making all sorts of box office money for R-rated film. That's really special, considering that those kinds of movies other than Deadpool, those kinds of movies almost never make bank.
I did see Joker, and it was very good. And the controversial movie, as told by the media.
Yeah, I think there's only one thing you can say about that. Everything that you can say about that's already been said. So let's just say this. It's not really all that violent, so I don't really know what people are worried about, and I can confirm that nobody was doing anything at my theater. So yeah, it was a pleasant experience.
No.
It's very, very, very good movie.
There were people smoking though, dude. That's crazy. That's like.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. I heard this one dude was eating beans and everyone else in the theater laughed. A year ago, I probably said that the idea of just like a solo movie about that character was just kind of a strange idea, especially considering it didn't have anything to do with like DCU or anything. But now that I see it, I think it made more than a case for itself. It's kind of like this. It's a character study. It's not meant to be fun or action-packed. It's just meant to sort of leave you with chills the whole way through, and I think it does that pretty well.
I was afraid it was gonna be like a Sony standalone villain movies like Venom. Like I was afraid it was gonna be like that, like really kind of bad, but they actually did it in a way. It was actually like a character study.
Kind of like a Taxi Driver kind of movie, but with the Joker.
But the harsh reality is really that, it wouldn't have gotten so much money if it wasn't connected to the Joker in DC and Batman. It would still be a good movie. It just
it kind of is a sad reality but at the very least it's exposing more people to that kind of film, because that kind of classic movie hasn't really been. Nobody really makes those anymore, and it's kind of sad because the movies that it's trying to pay homage to, they're from like 3 decades ago. And granted, while people still talk about them because they're good, Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, all those Martin Scorsese classics, they're just not the kind of thing you see anymore. So it's nice that people are seeing this and saying that's great. I want to see more of this kind of stuff.
Well, you especially don't see it in comic book movies.
Yeah, I can't really think of many, if any, other movies like this.
Well, do you think that there's going to be more movies, like superhero movies like this now, or do you think it's going to be like they're just going to keep going for generic blockbusters and stuff?
I think we're probably going to see both, because the truth is people still want to see fun. Every now and then, I think as long as it's like a sort of once every so many years you get this kind of movie, I'd be all right with that, because once in a while I want to see a movie that challenges some ideas that tries to make you feel uncomfortable because it's trying to, well, I wouldn't really say send a message because it's not really a movie designed for that. The only thing it really says is just, don't treat mentally ill people like garbage. But, that's an obvious thing.
Well, I think it shows how serious mental health can be. I think that's
Yeah, that's really what it is because I think what it really does is it puts that into perspective because most people, it's for people who don't have many of those issues, it's hard for them to know what it's like. This sort of gives you a look into that. It's sort of like what The Fanatic was trying to be and failed, if you wanted a good example for it.
Can't talk, gotta poo. That's all I know from that movie is that one gif. But I mean, I think that like there will be more movies like it now, or at least from DC.
I think there's definitely going to be more like it now that we've got this because, I mean, it's breaking records everywhere. People seem to love the movie. I mean, it's projected to become the #1 R-rated movie in the world, which means it wouldn't make more than Deadpool or Passion of the Christ, which are like, those are the two top R-rated movies right now. So that's definitely something. People aren't ignoring it.
Yeah, like, I mean, hopefully DC like sees it and is like, wow, we have like a...
I don't want the message that they take from this because they have a history of taking the wrong message for making good money from movies. I still want them to keep going on with like, the DCU and stuff as best they can because they can still work with what they have. I just wish that the kind of stuff that they were doing wasn't, well, Birds of Prey, because I'm just genuinely wondering who asked for a movie that is titled Birds of Prey and is just a movie that looks a lot like a Harley Quinn vanity piece. I mean, I would have liked to see an actual Birds of Prey movie, but that's really not what this is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's best that they have two different tones of movie. They have like Joker and probably Batman that are both like serious.
Yeah, the standalone stuff should definitely be taking more risks.
And then you have like Shazam, which is like very kid friendly, like Marvel, which is also good.
Yeah, it's definitely not what I expected from it, but at the same time, it didn't feel like a Marvel movie either because it wasn't afraid to get dark when it needed to. I mean, jeez, can you imagine it? Like what the boardroom scene with the deadly sins? That's almost on the level of like the horror hospital from Spider-Man 2. Like that would horrify a kid. So like maybe not like really young ones, but like.
Yeah, I mean it's like general audiences.
Yeah. If your edgy 12-year-old kid can enjoy it, you can enjoy it too.
I mean, I think the best part of Shazam was definitely like the middle, like when Zachary Levi actually like got on screen. I think those were the best moments of Shazam. Do you agree?
Yeah, the kid actors did a good job, but generally it was better when you had more. I mean, he plays a man-child in all of his roles, so it was genius to get a guy like that to wear a rubber suit and act like a kid in a grown man's body. It was genius. It just sort of has this whimsical feel to it that reminds you of like older movies like that, which I liked about it. It's more conventional, but it's more solid. It's tight. It's what I want. It's exactly what I want. First of all, you got all sorts of other stuff going on now, right? Like what? We had a bit of a scare there a month or two back, but Spider-Man's back in the MCU, so. Good news is rumors are we'll see Morbius will cross over, so I guess we'll really get to see Jared Leto make even more of a fool of himself.
Yeah, #rise.
Than he already did in Suicide Squad.
Morbius fans, rise up. 2020. Spyder's gonna know what I'm talking about.
I'm sure he will.
He's
yeah, not really.
I'm
just hoping that the third one is really gonna click with me, because I will say I did really enjoy Far From Home earlier this year. It definitely surprised me because I was honestly thinking, okay, the trailers look really good to some people. I was a little concerned, even though I liked where they were going with the whole Mysterio thing. And yeah, he's pretty much the highlight of the movie. Perfect in just about every way. It's really just the first part of it that I was really confused by, because it's sort of, compared to the rest of it, the second and third act are really solid. Everything feels like a pretty solid Marvel movie, but the first act really just felt kind of odd to me. Someone had told me that they had done a lot of restructuring of the first act, especially because they cut out stuff like the restaurant fight for no real reason other than to make more money off of the Blu-ray, which apparently I think it even got an extended re-release at some point while the original version of it was still going in theaters, which all that was just really confusing to me. But I mean, the result of that is that the first act to me sort of felt kind of, can we get to the point? That one bit in with Mysterio and Europe, and he's fighting that water thing, that was really the only thing that made me go, okay, this is what I'm looking for. It really wasn't until Mysterio reveal that things really started to kick into gear for me, and it really clicked, it worked. I liked pretty much everything after. I think what they need to do now is to lean more into the drama of it, and I think that's really what's going to make me like the third one more, because it's not that I don't like the comedy. Comedy is fine, you expect that in a movie like that, but I think they lean into it a little too heavily, and I think that if they had padded it out with a little more drama instead of leaning so heavily into that, everyone's still doing fine. Mysterio's great in that third act battle. That's something else. Can't deny that. That was just balls to the wall. Everything I wanted.
Yeah.
So I'd give it a solid 7.5, 8 out of 10. Good, but I would say it's not perfect.
Because of the first act?
Yeah, really because of the first act. That's really what it is for me.
Well, maybe, the first act was trying to make you feel like this is just, I don't know, a generic, bit more of a normal movie. Oh, we gotta take down the villains. But then, as soon as Mysterio is revealed, I guess it's kind of obvious, but as soon as he's revealed to be the villain, it kind of clicks into higher gear, on purpose.
Yeah, I know, that was the point. If they left the restaurant fight in, I think that alone would have made the first act feel a lot more enjoyable. I think really though, what would have made it infinitely better is if there are definitely a lot of concepts in the movie that I like, but there's definitely one or two in particular that I think if they had tweaked them a little more, then that would have definitely made a lot of the setup in the first act a little better. They sort of established that, sort of like a callback to Spider-Man No More and Spider-Man 2, about how, his spider sense isn't working because of all this emotional trauma he's being put through. That's an understandable thing, and I think that's a concept they could have really played with and made it its own unique thing. But at the same time, I feel like they were so hesitant to not be like what had come before that they kind of touched on it only every now and then, and for the most part, it was just sort of played off for a joke, which, it's funny once or twice. But I think toward the end of it, they really could have made it a really much more emotionally resonant thing if they had really given a deeper dive into what is really troubling him. And granted, they do some of that. And the plane scene, he's like, I'm stressed, I know I'm not going to be as good as Tony Stark. That's a really good scene. Happy telling him, you don't have to be, just be you. Be Spider-Man. That's a good scene. I feel like it would be a little more impactful if they had just had a few more scenes showing why exactly it's not working. Had him show that without that spider sense, it's a lot harder to work, but he seems to fight just fine without it, so it just sort of felt kind of wishy-washy and
I suppose, but at the end,
I don't want to sound like I'm just hating on this movie, because I did have a good time. I really did. It's a fun movie.
I think it's better than Homecoming.
I definitely think it's better than Homecoming. I'll reserve my thoughts on that because I've said my thoughts on that over and over again, but at least this time I can say I genuinely had fun. The action is a lot better, leaps and bounds ahead of what Homecoming had. It's fun.
I'm just excited for them to expand on the ending of the movie.
At first I was really not a fan of that ending. I was like, why would you do this so early? But now I guess I can say it definitely has the potential to really make a compelling drama of the next movie, which is really what I want. I want them to lean more into the struggle of the character instead of just more teen comedy stuff. Teen comedy stuff is fine, but they've been missing some opportunities by not having some real stakes, some real weight to everything. And that's really going to add the stakes to it. I'm much more satisfied after letting that really sit, digest for a while.
His secret's never been like truly out in the movies, and it's like at first I was like, well, that would that's not Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man's identity is never supposed to be out, but then I'm like, well, this just like is kind of what he needs. He needs a big issue, like a big problem.
I mean, if they're really gonna go with the part where he reveals his identity, I hope that eventually they make JJ into a more fleshed out character, because I mean, in that same run that they're borrowing that from, he wasn't just a guy who was like a parody of some crazy newscaster. I mean, he helped. Like, yeah, sure, he's a dick, but he's a dick with a heart because Peter worked for him for years, and he's not just an unlikable guy. He should be treated as the character that he is. Even the Raimi movies, as much as I love them, you only get hints of the complexity of his character there. They could just do a little more with it, is all I'm saying. And I hope that they do that. I mean, I can't exactly blame them for not being able to flesh him out in like a 5-minute end credit scene.
Yeah, I don't know if they will flesh him out that much, because they're gonna keep him as like a newscaster.
Yeah, that's really what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that they're really just gonna keep him as like this running joke, and I mean, that's fine, but there's more to do with it.
I mean, he could be like one of they could focus on him maybe, and like have him like, it doesn't Jameson, like in the comics, he kind of helps make Scorpion or something.
Yeah, like he basically is the reason that Scorpion exists, which granted, they could also go that route, which would make sense given that they set up Scorpion in Homecoming, and even though he didn't really show up in Far From Home at all, I assume they're not going to just do nothing with him.
Like, they're definitely setting up for Sinister Six or something. So, like, and since he's still in prison, Jameson could, like, have something to do with setting up the Sinister Six. He clearly hates Spider-Man, and all of New York hates Spider-Man.
Yeah, they could definitely do the illusion scene. They could dial that up to 11.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, that was definitely a good discussion. I remember in regards to like MC Spider-Man, some people were wondering about how like Spider-War would affect that, but thankfully the genius writers over at our Marvel Fan Scripture were able to make it so that it didn't really have much effect on how things worked out. So that was pretty great. I think it's been a good discussion for tonight. Talked about a lot of good stuff. First podcast episode. Thank you all for listening. We hope you'll tune in next time for the second FS podcast, and we're glad that you put up with us. Anyways, yeah, it's been fun.